Grady, do you like chocolate gravy? Yeah? Audrey, do you like it when we have biscuits and chocolate gravy? Is it yummy?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah. I just looked right up. It looks like our power is going out again.
So this is our little taste testing biscuit. You see?
We don't have it often, but it's our kids' favorite breakfast.
Yeah, we couldn't eat this very often. We wouldn't be able to fit at the door. We'd have to cut a hole. Had to round out our doors. So we're gonna make some homemade biscuits today. So we're using white lily flour, and we have these Crisco butter flavored shortening sticks. This is a 1/4 stick of your shortening, and we've got 2 cups of flour in here, and we've got 3/4 cup of buttermilk, and I think that's all you'll need. Go ahead and set your oven 500 degrees. We're going to bake them for roughly 10 minutes. And this shortening, I like it to be chilled in the fridge, but we just bought it, so it's a little bit soft. And so, kind of just coat them with flour. You can do this with your fingers. You can just kind of rub it, just kind of squeeze the flour and the butter together, or you can do it with a fork or a pastry cutter. Kind of feels like you're not doing anything, but just go around and around the bowl and pressing the flour into the shortening. And so once you've I don't know, maybe a minute or two, just make sure you might can see how crumbly your flour gets. It kind of starts to lump up a little bit, little crumbles. And so you just kind of sift through it with your fingers, your hand, or a fork, whatever. Make sure there's no lumps of your. The good thing about doing it with a fork is it keeps your flour kind of light and airy. Apparently that's a thing, I guess. So I'm just gonna whip this a little bit with my fork before I put my butter in. So it looks like everything's well incorporated. Don't worry about it, you're gonna make a mess either way. And so this is 3/4 cup of milk. We're gonna go ahead and pour it in. We'll probably end up needing some more. I just kind of use a fork to mix it up. Start with. Okay, so this looks pretty good. We can everything you want to see everything turn wet and sticky, but you don't want it, and it semi forms a ball. It doesn't doesn't lose its shape. So this looks like a good consistency. So I'm gonna throw some flour. Here we're just gonna dust a little bit of flour on the ball and get some on your fingers, and kind of just scrape it down the side of the bowl and start trying to form it into a ball. If you see it still sticking, then you just throw a little more flour on it. So at this point, you want to try to work it as less as possible to make lighter biscuits. So just keep working it loose from the bottom of the bowl and adding flour as you need. It'll only pick up so much flour. Once it gets coated, it'll form a little ball. I'm just going to work it around in the bowl a little bit to maybe make it a little more firm. Let it pick up a little more flour. And so I just like to pat it out instead of rolling it. I like to pat it out pretty thin, maybe about half as thick as your finger, or half as thick as that, maybe like a half an inch, I guess. And then we're going to fold it onto itself. That many times, and that gives it the layers. And then we're just going to shape it back into a ball. You see it got a little sticky there. Just add a little flour. Now, there's not many of us, so we want a good thick biscuit. If there's a lot of you, you want to pat them out thinner and make everybody ration.
Mm-hmm.
But I want a good thick biscuit, so this is almost about an inch thick. Is kind of what you want to shoot for, because they're going to double in size just about. Then you just get your biscuit cutter, get a little flour on it. First, let's get our pan out of the oven.
Probably just letting oil get hot on the pan as it preheats.
Yeah, so I put maybe 2 tablespoons of oil, plenty to cover the bottom of the pan and run around. And so you'll see, we'll cut a biscuit and it's got flour all over the top and on the bottom. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub it, the top in the oil, and flip it over. That way the top will brown. This is cast iron, so it's got a little seasoning on it, but that'll be fine. And if you are a biscuit maker worth your salt, you got several cookie cutters. That way I maybe should have rinsed this cast iron off a little bit, but it's got a little bacon grease on there.
Use it to fry bacon a lot.
Just gonna salvage that one. It's got got the edges cut off, but
it's for Audrey.
Yeah, and so this what we got extra, we're just gonna combine it, and you can work it a little bit more because it doesn't really matter. Be a little harsher with it. We might move our biscuits over.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to fold it 3 times, reshape it. Try to get 2 biscuits out of it. And we're going to make some chocolate gravy here in a minute, so y'all hang with us. They might fit. You can space your biscuits out on like a sheet pan. They'll get brown and crispy all the way around. But if you put them together like this, it'll help them rise. And so here I'm just scooting them together so I make a little more room for my other biscuits. I should have started on the edge. So we got our ingredients for our cocoa. So we're going to do a 1/4 cup of cocoa, 3 tablespoons of flour, 3/4 cup of sugar, and we're going to go ahead and put that in the pan, and we're going to stir that up first. And then we have 2 cups of milk. We have 2 teaspoons of vanilla and 2 tablespoons of butter, right? 1 tablespoon of butter. And so I've got the heat on, and I'm just going to stir all this together before I add my milk. And if you don't have a cast iron pan, don't use a steel whisk. Your family will thank you. A cup and 1/4 of milk, and we're going to add a little bit of water because we ran out of milk. Can you see anything? So we got our milk in. And we got our heat on about 8. We don't really want it to boil, but it'll start to turn into like a molasses, or it'll thicken once it gets hot. And so we just want to make sure everything's dissolved. You want to put those on the cooling rack?
Yeah.
And so it'll start to turn a little bit of a pale color. Just keep stirring because that chocolate's going to start sticking to the bottom as it heats up. And so you can see they're about 1.5 inches thick. This one here was the one that we didn't put any butter on or any oil on. I think I actually like it better, so maybe we won't do that next time. But they all look good. They're going to get smothered with gravy, so it doesn't matter what they look like. So you can see here the gravy is starting to starting to thicken up. You can start to see it, and you can feel it on the bottom of the pan. And it starts to bubble. You want to turn it down because you don't want it to bubble. It's like hot lava. And it's thickening up quick. So move your pan, Mama. So it got a little bit thick. I'm gonna try to thin it out. So pour a little water in it, because the water will always evaporate. The reason why I'm thinning it out is because once it cools off, if it's that thick when it's hot,
It'll be pudding.
It'll be a brick whenever it'll be like pudding whenever it thaws out. So when it cools off, you want it to be real runny, silky smooth almost, you know. So we're going to stir in our butter and our vanilla. I'm going to add a dash of salt. And just stir all that in, let the butter get melted, then we can make some biscuits. It holds the chocolate pretty good.
It's hot.
But it's hot, yeah, it'll cool off. We're just going to taste it and see what it tastes like. Perfect. It'll be even better once it cools off. Thanks for watching. Get out there and make some biscuits.